What's up, friends? Welcome to your monthly forecast reading for the month of April. It's looking like a very transformative month. Certainly, some of you are stepping into a different degree of coherence with your honest, most authentic expression into life. It's like tuning in and turning on your soul in a way that it shows up in life in a brand new way. Some of you are kind of lingering in something that has been trying to sort of either get upgraded or left behind for a long time. Now is the time you're going to see yourself starting to step into fresh waters, new energy in this particular piece. And some of you are sort of in this place of like a growth edge around kind of being unsure of how to step forward, how to make your mark. That growth process is going to begin this month. So all around, a lot of really fresh, yummy, nutritive energy coming in. So I'm excited for you to check it out. The whole video is coming up next. Definitely subscribe if you have not already, and I look forward to connecting with you very soon. Take good care. Wherever you happen to be right now, give yourself a moment to take a few deep breaths. Maybe just let yourself settle down into whatever you happen to be noticing in your body, in your sensations in this moment. You might let the seat or the ground beneath you hold you. And then you might put a little bit of attention into your heart space. Maybe there's something that makes you smile or warms you. You can put your attention there. All right. So we call out to the grandmothers and the grandfathers of the north, the south, the east, and the west. We call out to Mother, Father, God, and the deep ones, the rooted ones. Please be with us now and bring forward a clear message and whatever energy is most supportive to those who are gathering for this reading. All right. So we're looking into the month of April. And as we've done in the past, you will use your intuition to choose one of these cards here. You're also welcome to move through all of the readings, but the most precise or the most pertinent piece is going to be the one that your intuition draws you to. So just take a moment to sense into these three different cards, maybe the shapes that are represented there. Good. And then trusting your intuition, we will begin with our first selection here underneath the double helix medallion type thing there. You can skip ahead if you are for a different reading, but I'm just going to tune in with those of you who will choose this first option. So for those of you that choose the first option for the month of April, this first card is going to be the sort of general theme for the month. This is going to be the challenge or reciprocal energy that pushes against that theme or that learning curve. And the final card is going to be the outcome for the month of April. And then up above, we've got our advice card. So let's begin with our first card for the month of April. For those of you that chose this particular one, First card that's showing up for you is our King of Wands. We sort of think of the King of Wands as like a visionary, a great leader, somebody that's learned to both receive, tend to, and ground his creative energy. Somebody that is no longer pulled this way and that way by their creative energy or their inspiration, but rather has kind of learned through experience and trial and error how to bring inspiration into life. So this could be a time where you're coming more thoroughly into your leadership skills, into your ability to bring forward your visions into life. This can be a time where you're sort of growing in your maturity around what it is that you're actually wanting and noticing that it aligns what you're wanting, what you're desiring, is also something that's good for your community, is good for the people around you, is ultimately good for the planet as well. So it's a time of becoming more aligned with sort of a cosmic orientation. Excuse me. The cosmic orientation that also connects and rhymes with your personal orientation. So often our actual mission or our actual sort of reason for being here on the planet isn't something that's just personal. It interconnects with the larger movement of our species and planetary consciousness. So there's many layers that are aligning here. This could be a really powerful time for you. It's got a more mature place where instead of maybe in the past you could have gotten lost in sort of the fantasy around this or kind of gotten spun out and distracted. There's something more grounded, more real here that's moving into your life. Let's look at what might show up in terms of some challenge in this month or that might be pushing against this particular theme. What's showing up for you is our Two of Wands. So this is also a very visionary-oriented card. It can be the card that looks out and sees what's possible. It's a place of sort of coming to decisions based off of what it is that you can see, what it is that's coming next. Lots of potential in this card. When it's showing up in the challenge position, it can often indicate that you're hanging out too long in that indecision place. Something is ready to move forward. Something is ready for you to step heartily into, and it's no longer that time of just weighing options, just imagining what's possible, sort of looking at one direction and seeing if it gets you where you want to be, and then looking at the other direction and kind of waiting and holding back. No, there's actual movement that wants to occur here. And if you've had experiences where in the past the doors sort of felt closed or there was a waiting period, you may have gotten used to sort of staying in that imagining, planning, but not actually taking action mode. And this is saying it's time to start taking some tangible steps in that direction that your vision is speaking to. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be some sort of massive movement, and it could really move from places like your relationships, how it is that you want to move or take greater care and leadership in your relationship. This could also be more specific in terms of like a soul movement in yourself or in your career. But the point is, we're no longer in this place of just imagining. Something's actually wanting to move forward. So something that could be helpful is looking into, when I think about taking these next steps, what shows up in me? What is the fear that starts to arise, or the uncertainty you might notice in your body? Ooh, it's my tummy or my chest gets a bit tight, and starting to be in a bit of like felt inquiry. What is this saying inside of me that when it's time to step forward, there's something that's sort of holding back, or there's something that goes numb, and starting to host that experience in yourself. Let's take a look at our outcome card for the month of April. This is such a powerful wand month for those of you that chose this particular option. Powerful king energy. Now we've got our queen energy here, and this little bit of like some younger energy from the past that's still a bit tentative. So anyways, our outcome card is the Queen of Wands, which is one of my absolute favorite cards, and she is the embodiment of self-knowing and magnetism because of authenticity. In other words, she's embraced the part of herself that feels a bit insecure or that has been orphaned from her. She's embraced the part that maybe is a bit hesitant or afraid, and as a result, she really accepts herself. She really appreciates who she is, all the way down to the deepest regions of herself. And that is one of the most powerful postures you can possibly bring to life, to what it is you're creating, to success, to everything, is you're resonating through and through. There's a coherence to the way that you've accepted yourself. And as a result, people are attracted to you. Your voice starts to resound because it's not trimming itself this way or editing itself that way. Rather, you're really being who you are. So I'm seeing this month as a pretty powerful transformative month in terms of more of your true self coming forward, you stepping into elements of leadership. And that doesn't mean that you're going to lead like a team, or it just means that you're sort of landed more fully in your visionary self and life. And you're moving through some of the uncertainty, some of the places where maybe you've held back or you've gotten used to not moving forward, and stepping into this beautiful, potent, authentic expression that's starting to show up. Let's take a look at your advice card for the month of April. Really beautiful. The advice card is our Sun card here, saying, follow that passionate, joyful, lusty time in your life. Let yourself be connected with your inner child, with the parts of yourself that want to play and be silly. You are going to be shined on in this month ahead. So places where you've kind of gotten in your head, or you've gotten a little bit over serious about things, or you feel like, ooh, I can't trust that life is going to meet me if I take a step. This is a time to get playful, silly, have some joy, do some things that make you feel alive and in a body and on a planet. Let yourself be joyful this month, because there's something about your true essence and expression that is really shining this month. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in with me, those of you that chose that first card. What a lovely beginning for our month here. Let's take a look at our next card. So this would be our next card, is underneath our little triangle here. So for those of you that chose this second option, this is going to be your reading for the month of April. I'm just going to tune in with those of you that will choose this particular option. All right. First card will be the basic situation, basic context of learning and growth for the month of April. Second card will be a bit of that sort of opposite energy that's pushing against the challenges, the ways in which we're sort of being asked to grow through some complexity or some challenge. And final card will be your outcome card for the month of April. Excuse me. So let's take a look at our first card, situation card for the month of April, is showing up as our Justice card. Now, I tend to think of the Justice card as signaling sort of cosmic reordering, which means it's not necessarily about something personal in your life. It just means that the scales of justice are moving. Things are shifting in one direction or the other direction, and it can feel kind of impersonal to some degree. It's not so directly personal to you. Now, this can sometimes show up more specifically if there's been something that's been painful in the past, or there's been something that's been challenging for you, and things are starting to level out. But it's not like necessarily a karmic element. It's more like life is just trying to sort of come back into balance, which to some degree is the way that karma works. There's an energy that's been moving, and now it's coming back into balance in a particular way. So if there's anybody that's been dealing with actual legal matters, this can be a sign that that's going to be a big theme for this month ahead. You could be dealing with some of those elements. We'll get a better sense of how the outcome of that might be. This can sometimes feel like a shifting towards balance in your life. So if it's felt like you've had a lot of trouble with a career situation, or there's been a slew of relationship challenges, this can sometimes be an indication that something is finalizing. You're coming back to sort of a neutral place. I don't tend to think of the Justice card as being some sort of massive win or massive success. It's kind of like things are coming back into balance. So likewise, if you've been sort of unfair to somebody, or you haven't been treating people very well, there can be a way in which life is sort of recalibrating or rebalancing itself. But let's take a look at our next card. We'll get a little bit more information about what you might be expecting in this month ahead. So the challenge card that's showing up is our priestess card. And she is our denizen between the worlds. She is the one that walks between the deep unconscious, the sacred, the esoteric, and the conscious world. She is a master of the mysteries. She's worked within the places that most humans don't fully understand. She plays between the veils and is deeply initiated into the secrets of life and the beyond. Now, when she shows up in sort of a challenge place, it can sort of feel like there's something that we don't fully understand. There's something that's maybe a bit secretive, or there's something that we have been striving to try to get the understanding from, and it's not quite landing for us. Why has this happened? Why is this going on this way? Why is it that this particular thing has happened so many times specifically to me, and there isn't a clear answer? So this seems to fit in quite well with our Justice card. Something is reconfiguring itself at a pretty deep level for you, and it's not the type of thing that you can just go, oh, A plus B equals C, I got it, this makes a lot of sense. Rather, the great one of the fundamental things that came through for me early on in one of my deep awakening processes was the saying, stop trying to figure it all out, it's not supposed to make sense. Now, that's true on one layer and not true on another, but particularly when we're talking about big shifts that are not so personal, shifts that are sort of like tectonic plates that are moving beneath us and in our sort of soul trajectory, it's not going to make sense right away. And the best thing you can do is sort of rest back, trust the process, keep attending to things from a place of integrity, and let yourself move forward. So if things start to rumble and shift and move in ways that don't immediately make sense to you, it's okay. You're not supposed to get it or to understand it just yet. Trust your heart, trust the ground beneath you, and one step at a time. There's a great I think there were wood burnings from the alchemical texts, these beautiful plaques, alchemical texts, and there's this really funny one where the alchemist is walking He's walking back behind, and he's got these big, thick goggles on. So it's like he can't fully see what's going on. It's also nighttime. And up in front of him is like a Gaian or Sophia type character, like the wisdom, the feminine, the natural world. And so the alchemist is trying to follow her, but he's seeing through these gooey goggles, and he's like still following. He can still sort of see the light up ahead, but he's not getting the full image. And that's a little bit of what's being spoken about here. You're getting some indications that some things are shifting and changing. You're not going to fully understand it right away. Let's take a look at the outcome card for the month of April. Outcome card, really strong card here. And just to say, we've got 3 major arcana cards showing up for you, all of them with prominent feminine beings, archetypes in them. This is a powerful, potent element that's happening right now. And to some degree, it must have something to do with trusting the feminine, trusting the deeper feeling, the deeper wisdom that's behind the scenes. And the strength card, which is what we're looking at now, isn't about burly, super hard strength. It's about your deep inner courage, your deep inner faith, and your deep inner kindness and like graciousness towards life. You can see she's standing here with, a pretty ferocious carnivorous creature, but it's through her love, it's through her wisdom, it's through her adherence to the deep principles that move her in life that she has tamed the beast. She's able to walk forward in life because deep down she trusts the direction that her heart and her soul is taking her. This is a very juicy month for you. You are coming into contact with deep principles of yourself that know something that maybe your conscious self is only beginning to scratch the surface of. And that deep knowing is creating a kind of strength and a kind of integrity that will serve you deeply going forward. This is going to be a very powerful month, and I don't fully have the words to say exactly what it's indicating, and I think that that's perfect. But you continuing to come back to a place of trusting some of the unknown, touching in with your heart, and connecting with the parts of yourself that do know something will help you ferry across this really powerful month. Let's take a look at your advice card. Makes a lot of sense here. This is our 6 of Swords, and that's kind of a sign of, this guy here is ferrying the woman and the child from a place that's been a bit chaotic and not so good in these choppier waters to a new shore. There is something up ahead for you. So even if things feel a little bit turbulent and bumpy and a little confusing, as is indicated here, it's because you're heading to something fresh. It's because you're heading to something new. I was saying this to one of my private coaching clients about she's going through a process of really re-owning some of her own power and her own agency, and like not needing to attend to every single person in her life. And as she's landing back there, there's this sort of process that's happening where the people that have gotten used to her always attending to everything, there's some disruption. It doesn't feel so comfortable for them. They're causing a little bit of mayhem because they're used to this constant support from this person. And I was talking about, if you've been smoking cigarettes and you've become addicted to nicotine, when you stop smoking cigarettes, when you let go of that particular addiction, you are moving towards something healthy, but it sure as heck doesn't feel that way at first. It feels really painful and chaotic, and your mind, your neurobiology needs to reset itself, and your nervous system resets itself. So just because something is turbulent doesn't mean that it's heading in the wrong direction. In fact, you might be moving towards something that is vastly more healthy and more enjoyable, and that certainly seems to be the indication here. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. For those of you that chose the second card, let's hop into our last reading here. Let me just reset the deck. a little bit. All right. So final choice or card for the month of April for those of you that choose or chose excuse me, or will choose the third card. I'm just going to tune in with you now. All right. So first card will be the general theme, trajectory of learning and growth for the month of April. Second card will be the challenge, or that which is sort of pushing against that learning process. Pretty important to have something push against our learning process. It's how we stabilize into that new learning. And third card will be the outcome for the month of April. So let's tune right in to the general situation, general arc for the month of April. So we've got our Four of Coins, our Four of Pentacles here. This can be a time where we're feeling a bit insecure. There's sort of a movement towards being conservative in the way that we're interacting with life, how we're spending, who we're sharing with. It kind of has this feeling of a little bit of isolation, even if there's a lot that's going on around you or you're even engaged in a lot of things. There's sort of this place of feeling unsure what you can share and what you need to hold close to your chest. And as a result of there being a little bit of this protectiveness or sort of withholding, there's also maybe a feeling of not necessarily receiving much either. So the reason that I say this is you can see that the coins are beneath his feet and in front of his heart and over his head. And while he's keeping the coins close, so sort of keeping the treasures close to him, they're also kind of blocking these natural energy centers like the heart space and the crown and the feet. So there can be this feeling like I have to sort of protect myself, or I have to sort of pull back a little bit. And that might be absolutely right. It might be very important for you to be tending to yourself, but it can also feel a little bit isolating and a little bit disconnected. So the sense here is that it's good for you to be tending to yourself and protecting yourself, and there might be a little bit of a sense of isolation. So let's see what the challenge is for your month of April. And this is already making a lot of sense to me. I always rave about this card, so I'll try not to rave too much more this time, but the Eight of Cups is definitely one of my favorites. It is a time when things have become stagnant, and it's time for us to go on an adventure to find something new and nourishing and fresh. It's kind of like the natural dying off of one phase, and it's time for us to go find something that inspires us again. And when this is in the challenge position, and particularly with what we're seeing here, it may be that you're kind of resisting a very important change in your life. Something has sort of stagnated for too long now, or it's getting to that point, and there's kind of a resistance to make the shift. It's kind of like a stubbornness, like, no, I think I'm going to stay here, even though things are getting a little bit, low and dry, and even though I don't really feel so connected to things anymore, I think I'd rather sort of stay where I am. So again, this is an important time to get curious about what comes up in my body, my mind, my emotions when I think about stepping outside of my comfort zone, or when I start to think about trying something different, or when I start to think about, oh gosh, I think I need to leave this situation. And not that you need to now override those feelings, but rather feel them and see what's actually going on there. Maybe do a little bit of writing, get some like real self-truth telling, because sometimes we've become so committed to something, or sometimes we've become so, what's the right word that I'm thinking of here? Allied with a particular thing, that even though it's time for it to move on, we're sort of staying stubbornly there. Now, again, this might be something really simple like a thought pattern or a way of being in life or like a friend group, but it could be something bigger like a career or a relationship. So starting to get curious about what has been signaling it's over for a while, or what has been signaling it needs a refreshening, and I'm just kind of avoiding that process. Let's take a look at your outcome card for the month of April. Heyo, I like the sign of this. This is our Seven of Wands. It tends to represent a kind of surprise or having to defend oneself a little bit, but it's also a card of growth. It is a sign of real stepping forward, of putting yourself out there, of being willing to test or try something new. As a result of testing or trying something new, just like I was talking about in the previous reading, when we start to go against what's become the norm, the homeostasis, the environment, our ecosystem can press back. It can create some friction. We're like, I'm making changes, and our ecosystem is like, oh no, you're not. I like things being the way that they are. I want them to stay the same, even if it's not comfortable. So this can be a sign that you are in fact going to start stepping out this month. And it's a good thing, even if you start to feel a bit of pushback and some tension and some growing pains. Things are moving in a good direction. It might not be comfortable, but you're heading in a good direction. Let's take a look at our advice card for your month of April. Excellent. The card of great uncertainty. This is saying, take a look at the place inside of yourself that is afraid it will make the wrong decision. It's afraid that if you accidentally make the wrong decision, things are going to totally fall apart. Now, this could be a very young place in you that did make a choice at some point and then was punished for it in some way, or something bad happened, which can create a kind of frozenness around making choices. It can create kind of a frozenness around stepping out there or putting ourselves out there. This is precisely the part of yourself that you want to bring some yummy, warm, nutritive love to. It's time to start raining down the sweetness of your adult love for younger parts of yourself. It's time to start thawing these places with loving attention. That's what's going to make stepping forward and making these changes way smoother, maybe even deeply enjoyable. Thanks so much for tuning in with me on that reading. And for everybody else, thanks for tuning in with me. Don't forget to subscribe and whatever else I'm supposed to say there. And as always, lovely to connect with you, and we will talk again soon. And if you want to go further, you can always grab a reading with me down below. I have both 20-minute recorded readings that I'll send right to your inbox, and then, of course, Zoom meeting hour-long sessions. Take good care. Bye.